21 minutes after 11 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. Remember when John Kennedy said we would land a man on the moon before the end of the decade? Remember that back in the 60s?
Yes, I do.
If you're old enough or if you learned it in school. Vice President Joe Biden in January was meeting with cancer researchers in Philadelphia, and he made a similar moonshot type of a statement regarding cancer, that researchers should find a cure of cancer by, and I can't remember what the time frame was that he gave. But none of the other, he's not a candidate even. He's not even running for the presidency. But wouldn't that have catapulted him, huh?
Oh, sure.
Robert Berman is on the phone. He's a spokesperson for the Cancer4Pres.org campaign. And one of the points that is made in the material that was sent to us to prepare for this interview is that very point right there, that we don't have presidential candidates pointing this out, that we really need to, as a country, come together and figure out a way to solve this cancer problem.
For sure.
It would be a blessing, a huge... I mean, polio. Look at polio's gone, right? For the most part, I think. Robert Berman, good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning. Thank you for having me. And I'd just like to point out it's cancer, the number 4, and then Pres, P-R-E-S.org.
Okay, excellent. And how long has that organization been around?
The website's been up for 2 weeks. And as you intimated, the purpose of the site is to make sure that our next president, who's entering office, whoever he or she may be, has cancer as a priority. And the way to do that is to get the candidates talking about cancer. And the way to do that is to show the candidates that cancer is important to voters.
Yeah.
So on our website, we have a big button that says Cancer Counts, and there's a tabulator, and we're asking the listeners to just visit the website and hit the Cancer Counts button a few times to show the candidates that cancer is important to voters.
All right, I just did. So I can click it more than once, it looks like. I just voted twice. I'm allowed to do that?
You're allowed to do that. Okay. Absolutely.
All right. Yeah, it is super important.
One other comment on the intro. You mentioned that Vice President's son and the moonshot, and look, we're certainly, any additional attention that cancer gets is a good thing. But I just want to point out to you that, our sons and daughters, and mothers and fathers for that matter, have been dying for years. And it shouldn't take the death of the vice president's son to get our national leaders focused on cancer.
That's a good point.
And so that's really our point. I mean, during the next administration, over 1,650 people are going to die from cancer-related illnesses every day. Every day. That's astounding. Yet they're not talking about it.
Are you familiar with the Biden statement, or was it just rhetoric, or did he actually set something in motion that would be where the government is involved in more research?
So what happened was President Obama actually, in the last State of the Union address, mentioned cancer and mentioned the moonshot, and then said that he was putting Vice President Biden in charge of it. And so they've allocated some additional money to cancer research, and they've just appointed a coordinator. But the problem is that's in the last year of their 8-year term.
I got you. Right.
And, my point is that we're on the cusp of some very significant breakthroughs with cancer. No question. We're talking about breakthroughs that are going to change the way we approach cancer for the next 50 years. Now, will we reach those breakthroughs if the president doesn't pay any attention to cancer? Yes. But we'll reach them much faster if cancer is emphasized and is a priority of the administration.
And on a personal note, you lost your dad to cancer.
I did. Unfortunately, I did lose my father last year to cancer. But, as I've said, we've been losing people at a rate that is extraordinary. I mean, think about this. During the next presidential term, 6 times the amount of people that died in World War II, 6 times, will die from cancer-related illnesses.
Wow. Wow, that's horrible. Well, I know it's a short interview, and I know that the main thrust of this little chat is to get people to go to the website. So let me ask you to repeat the website again. I already went to it.
Sure. It's Cancer, the number 4, Pres, P-R-E-S.org. We have a big button on the middle of the site that says Cancer Counts, and you can hit that site for every person that you know that's been affected by cancer.
Oh, okay.
Either a friend or a family member or an acquaintance or somebody you watch on television. Unfortunately, cancer doesn't have any bounds and affects rich, poor, Republicans, Democrats. And I just want to point out that our site is apolitical, so we are not endorsing any particular candidate or any particular party. We just want to make cancer a priority for whoever our next president is going to be.
Yeah.
And there are all forms of cancer. Little children get cancer. And this is one of the huge, huge topics that the candidates should be focusing on, because they're the ones that are going to be, that are in the spotlight now. And once they're president, they're going to be in the spotlight every day.
Yeah.
Well, that's exactly it. There was a study that was done in 2015 that showed that cancer is important to voters. And I don't know whether the candidates, they have these teams of advisors. I don't know whether they missed the study, but I found the study easy enough. And what our website is looking to do is to confirm that study. Excuse me. And once they see that voters are interested, and once they see that cancer could make the difference in a close election,
right,
they'll be talking about it, and they'll be putting policies together.
Do you know there's a money element here, too? I briefly looked at the figures, but it looks like it would cost a lot less to prevent cancer once we get that technology in place than it does to care for it. In other words, it would cost less to cure it once the cure is in place than it does right now. Right?
That's right. As a matter of fact, my company is developing a blood test for the early detection of cancer. My company is called IDIS Corporation. And we believe that since 1971, when President Nixon declared war on cancer, we've been obsessed with curing advanced cancers. And that if you find the cancer earlier, that you'll have a more positive impact on cancer mortality rates than trying to cure advanced cancer. Because the statistics show that if you find cancer in stage 1 or stage 2, you have a 90 to 100% survival rate. If you find cancer in stage 3 or stage 4, you have a 20 to 30%. So we believe one of the keys is finding the cancer early, and that's where some of the money needs to be invested instead of just trying to cure advanced cancers. Does that make sense?
That makes a lot of sense. I just shared it both on Facebook and Twitter. I saw the little links on there. So please, listeners, go help out with this campaign. This is a no-brainer. Cancer4Pres.org, the number 4, Cancer4Pres, Pres.org, and share it with everybody you can think of. Robert, thank you so much for being on the air with us today.
Thanks for having me, and I appreciate the time.
Good information. We'll put this also on our website so we can share it as well on that way. We'll be right back.